Good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear us and see us on your screens. Uh, may I please request you to respond with a yes in the chat box if you can hear us and see us on the screen. Good evening, everyone. Mindler team, may I please request you to confirm if the audio and video are all okay? Excellent. All right, so we have about 106 attendees so far joining in, and I'm sure that number will rise. So before we go ahead and introduce our exemplary panelists today, I'm going to take a few minutes to be able to dictate a few ground rules. So welcome to this session, and this is going to be a recorded webinar. So please ensure that you pose relevant questions to our esteemed panelists and us. Please don't use this chat box to have parallel conversations between each other. And all the questions that you might want to ask of us, please use the chat box to be able to ask us questions. Whenever any one of us asks you a question, you want to be able to respond. A chat box is your best friend to be able to do that space. And welcome all for what I promise to be an excellent hour of discussion on a mind-blowing topic of liberal arts. So when I, for example, look at liberal arts as a curriculum, I wish I was younger in class 11th and 12th and looking at the liberal curriculum to be able to enroll myself there. I think it's a very fantastic proposition for us to be able to say that this is one of those curriculums which in the real sense focuses on holistic development. It focuses on taking subjects outside of class, and it focuses a lot more on just kind of increasing your paradigm acumen over a lot of different elements. So today we're going to be discussing about liberal arts as an application, as a concept, as an ideology, as a curriculum. And for that, I have representatives and extreme panelists from OP Jindal University and Shiv Nadar University. Welcome you all, and I welcome Abhishek, my co-presenter, my colleague from Mindler.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that, Dipankar. It's an honor for me to introduce to you Dr. Stain, who is a professor from Shiv Nadar University and heads the Department of English at School of Humanities and Social Sciences at Shiv Nadar University, and moved there in January 2015 after an exemplary experience at University of Delhi. His research interests include the language of radicalism and its relationship with the 19th century British novels and borders and border crossings, among others. He has published his pieces on these topics in journals like Representations, Victorian Studies, English Language History, Literature Compass, and 19th Century Literature. So it's an honor having you up with us today. Along with that, we have Professor Dr. Krishna Swamy, who is an associate professor at Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities. His interest areas are interface of language and mind. He started out with interest in linguistics before moving on to philosophy, where he did research on Kantian notions of space and time. His research interests now are philosophy of language, mind, and political philosophy. He teaches introductory courses in philosophy and electives on the history of Western philosophy, as well as courses on ethics of the mind at JSLH. His latest book, Wittgenstein and the Nature of Violence, Rotels, is coming out in July 2020. We welcome you, sir. Dipankar leads the overseas and education liberal arts practice at Mindler and has helped over 1,000 of students gain admission to the dream universities. An application profiling specialist beyond par, he creates applications that win at top international universities, including the Ivy League and the G5. Lastly, my name is Abhishek. I am also a career coach at Mindler and work in the overseas education liberal arts practice. I'm also a graduate from University College London. Thank you so much for joining us today. Dipankar, over to you.
Thank you so much for that, Abhishek. Now, students, like I said in the beginning, we're going to be looking at liberal arts as a concept, as an idea, and as a notion of education. At this point of time, may I please request both of our panelists to turn off their video so that we don't have a bandwidth issue. Of course, through the hour, we will be inviting lots and lots of questions that we will pose to both of you, along with the ones that we have on our own. And at this point of time, may I please request Abhishek to open the presentation as well.
Yes, Bang, can you see the presentation now?
I can. Thank you so much. I hope everyone is also able to see the presentation that we have running on the screen. If at all you're somebody who's not being able to review or to be able to see the presentation, or there's some kind of audio or visual lag, please stay tuned. Kindly refresh your browser. It will all be fine. right? So when we're talking about liberal arts as a curriculum, I think liberal arts is one of those domains wherein the first thing that strikes to mind is that I get the freedom to be able to choose what I want to study. All right. Instead of telling me what I want and what I really not don't want to do, be able to study, I think liberal arts as a domain is really inviting. It's really flexible in terms of what we really want to study. Now imagine this, for example, all right? Now you are somebody, for example, who says, I'm a class 12 student and I want to be able to go forward with a liberal curriculum or from that matter for a college option. And one or three cases of happen. The first is you score a 99% in your class 12 marks. You score, second case, you score a 98% in class 12th. And the third case, you scored 97% in class 12th. While all of these marks are extremely, extremely great, they are like stellar grades that one can only hope for. The sad reality is that, for example, when you're looking at the cutoff ranges of colleges, if I wanted to be able to do political science honors at, let's say, Delhi University, I would need to have a 99% or higher to make the cut. If I had 1% lower, 98, all the top colleges would have been gone. If I had further 1% lesser than 98, which is 97, in all probability, all the good colleges in Delhi University would have closed their doors for me. Is it fair to the amount of effort, amount of strategy, amount of dedication that are displayed in class 11th and 12th? Absolutely not. And that's where a new range of education institutions, a new range of universities are coming to light. They're coming in a big manner, which say, okay, marks are important. We understand that academics is a great, great, great part of what you're offering, but we also understand that education cannot only be measured in terms of marks. We understand that education lies beyond those answer sheets. We understand that things like intelligence, things like knowledge, things like reading, things like activities, exposure, your participation in extracurricular, co-curricular activities, your participation in debates, your ability to know general awareness, your ability to have an opinion on books that you read, they are all a part of what we want in a student. Because we understand that when we go on a campus, learning is not just limited between students and professors. Learning also happens between peers. And that's why liberal arts is one of those multi-dimensional, multidisciplinary domains wherein you as a student have the advantage of saying that I'm going to be someone who's going to study psychology. But in tandem with psychology, I also have an option of economics. I also have an option of sociology. I also have an option of English literature. I can also fuse sociology with let's say, music. I can learn all those kind of nuanced understandings that only can happen in a liberal arts college. At this point of time, I'm reminded by the severe catastrophe that's taken the world by storm, which is the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, let me ask you a question here, which is, to be able to overcome this pandemic, can we hope that only one professional or only one type of career will be able to get a cure for this? Absolutely not. It will take a whole parade of people from different backgrounds, people from different ideologies, people who have their own niches, their own expertise, coming in together in a collaborative manner to be able to say, okay, this is the solution. My next question is, if all of these people come together, how is it this guaranteed that they will all be able to understand what the other person is talking about? So for example, if I'm a pharmaceutical professional, how can I understand what a psychologist is saying? Or how can I understand what a businessman is saying? For me to be able to understand those varied perspectives, to be able to bring to light those immense number of perspectives from other people, I think it's a very important criteria for anyone to have a multidimensional mindset of what they're thinking. And that's exactly what I relate the liberal arts curriculum with. So for me, liberal arts is about the experimentation of subjects. It's about having a career where there's freedom, where there's flexibility. It's also about increasing my perspective every single day about things that I might or might not be aware of. On that note, Abhishek, what are your thoughts on this?
Certainly, Dipankar, I would like to take on from that. Before that, Dipankar, can you see me and hear me? Is it clear?
Absolutely, I can loud and clear.
Perfect. So I actually want to start with the notion which I heard and I really like about liberal arts. The fact is liberal arts encourages you to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I'll repeat that. Liberal arts encourages you to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And when do we feel uncomfortable? When we are challenged, when we are asked to go out of a comfort zone and be a divergent thinker, be a critical thinker, do something other than doing what is ordinary. And that is what is happening right now. And I think liberal arts is something which is the perfect dawn for the new era. Talking about advantages of liberal arts, taking on further for what Dipankar was talking about, it helps you prepare for uncertainties. And I think this is the perfect time talking about this, just because the world is facing a dreadful pandemic and nobody's able to find a cure. We have hope every day that a vaccine is coming up, but nothing is there for sure. So how does the liberal arts curriculum help you to face with uncertainties? So for instance, stay with me, everyone who's listening, that if you have to observe the pandemic right now and what kind of professions are functioning well right now, they're all diverse. Not one profession is just flourishing or working well. If somebody is working in as a medical practitioner, they're literally working on the front line, but there are alternative ways they are doing research. People who had access to their labs, they don't have that anymore. They're coming up with different ways of doing research. Similarly, if we look at journalists or news anchors, they are working day and night to provide us information, but they have to improvise as well. Similarly, a liberal arts curriculum encourages you to plan for such events, that what if this goes wrong? That is why the idea is to not focus on one particular domain, just because what if in future something doesn't plan out, or we face with another uncertainty or another calamity? How do you overcome that, or how do you face that? Liberal arts encourages you towards a holistic development, which basically means not just your academic profiles, your skills, how you work across in a work environment, how you communicate to people, how you express your opinions. That is an essential part of liberal arts curriculum as well. We will talk about this later when we further move on the presentation. We'll take that up. But working on a soft skills is something very important. Now, for instance, in a liberal arts university, something which is primary, which I'm sure Dr. Swami and Dr. Sen will share later as well about the universities. Something which is primary about liberal arts colleges is they allow you to work in teams and come up with the mindset and bring across solutions. So what happens is you're able to express, you're able to communicate, you're able to think outside the box, be a diverging thinker. That is what liberal arts does to you. It enhances the cultural understanding. How? Simply because if you consider the liberal arts schools in India, we will talk about them as well. Some of the best ones get students from all across the country, and even some of the universities receive application of students from South Asian countries as well. So that includes a cultural mix. You get to learn about different cultures from different people, how different people operate, how they function, what kind of mindsets they have, what kind of values they have. And lastly, it helps you be a better leader. Simply because you're working in teams, you're working in a very different environment, you should be able to lead. That is the idea behind the liberal arts curriculum. And I'll quickly walk you through the kind of subject opportunities you have and the career choices. As you can see on the screens as well, the options are immense. There are a plethora of career choices that are available. Some of them can be overlapping. You can get into different industries. For instance, if you were to take economics, you can go and work in consulting, be an analyst, work as an economics professor, do research in the domain, go on taking public policy from economics, get into international relations, international development. Sustainability can come as a branch of economics. So there's so much and more that you can do. Liberal arts allows you to do that. Some of the skills I want to talk to you about acquiring, I'll walk you through that, and Dipankar will help you understand how do you build these skills, right from critical thinking and problem solving. Now, you might feel for a student, why are these skills relevant at all? Now, understand, when we graduate, we're looking for jobs. Now, do you feel that after we are doing a traditional degree, are we well equipped to work in are we confident enough to work in a professional environment? I mean, we get the necessary education, but do we have any practical exposure? Unless we have done a couple of internships, which only last a couple of months, we don't have any professional exposure. We might do virtual internships, which are coming up now, but that's not just it. We need more than that. So liberal arts curriculum focuses on providing you necessary skills, like being a critical thinker. You should be able to have a vision to solve problems. That is what an employer would want from a student coming in as a fresher. Creativity and innovation, coming up with different solutions, thinking outside the box. Again, it resonates with them. That is what the employers want from the upcoming generation. Generation Z is taking over from millennials, but how are they better? This is what that differentiates them. Now, creativity innovation is incomplete without research. We might be creative, we might try and innovate, but without thorough research, they both stand no chance. So we have to come up with research as well and work on our skills. Similarly, communication and interpersonal skills are an important and imperative part of liberal arts education, because you should not just be thinking and working on your skills. You should also be able to express. To be very honest, if I had all the ideas in the world, but I'm not able to express them, those ideas are no good. Similarly, teamwork, which again is a very relevant aspect. Dipankar, over to you.
Thank you, Abhishek. And I couldn't more on the fact that liberal arts is one of those curriculums wherein you get into the deep end straight away and you really explore yourself on the way. Okay. So Abhishek he spoke about skill building. Now I'm going to share a little bit about how is it actually done in these colleges. Now, please understand that I have not been to a liberal arts college as much as I would like to. I want to be able to start my undergrad education all over again to be able to participate in a liberal setting. But my sources, my students who have gone through to those colleges tell me the following stuff. So I'll tell you one small example of what learning means, right? Learning for us typically in the K-12 education spectrum when we visit schools is the fact that we go to the school, we sit in our classrooms, our teachers come, they teach us, and then it's Tata bye-bye time, which is I don't get to learn from anything beyond my teachers and my classrooms. Now, here's what happened. Okay, so this is a real life example one of my students told me, which is on the first week of campus, in the first week of campus, he was walking by to his dormitory and he saw this boy sitting outside the dorm doing calligraphy. And as much as he was enthralled by the calligraphy, he asked him, "Hey, that's really cool. What you're doing is really, really amazing. I've always wanted to learn calligraphy. Could you please teach me that?" Now, ordinarily, if you're somebody who's a college student and you walk to a fellow college student and tell them, teach me something, teach me a skill, they'll probably not give you enough impetus and then walk their own way. But liberal arts will be different. So this is what really happened. So he spoke to this boy and told him this calligraphy is really cool. Can you please tell me? Can you please teach me on how to do this? The boy said, "Sure, I would love to teach you this. But in return, what will you teach me?" My student said, all I've done through my life is play football. I'm a football fanatic. The other boy said, "Works. You teach me football, I'll teach you calligraphy." So imagine if you are doing this one interaction with the student per week. By the end of your 3-year or 4-year program, how many new skills would you have in your arsenal? That's just one of the many cases. Imagine a scenario wherein instead of the chalkboard and the chalk, your medium of education, your medium of pedagogy is a sociology professor coming into your class, playing Coldplay for 30 minutes, and then talking to you about how music that Coldplay does is a replication of the ideas of our society. Imagine listening to Coldplay in class. That's how cool the liberal curriculum is in my mind. Imagine coming to a scenario wherein you don't have to write exams on paper. I'm not sure if that's actually 100% true, but a lot of my students say that they're given partial credit. What that means is that a lot of universities are preferring the practical way of application instead of the theoretical manner. So here's what happened in all of these institutions wherein the first semester examination went like this. Now, typically what we're used to is we get a question paper, we get an answer sheet, we take out a pen, we take out a paper, and we start scribbling until the time is up. That's what the typical way of education is for examinations. And we sit with our own class, we sit with our own group of students, we sit with our own subjects and give those examinations. Now, here's what happened in the liberal arts college. The boy that I'm referring to here is pursuing political science. So he was made in a group was formulated, one person with political science, one person with psychology, one person as an English literature major, one person with economics background, one person with the computer sciences background, one person with journalism background. All of them were made as a part of the same group, with the condition being that either all of you pass or all of you fail. There's nothing in between. And guess what the topic was? The topic was, there's a state in India called Uttar Pradesh. During the next 3 months of the semester, please come up with findings on the literacy rate in Uttar Pradesh, district-wise. Help us understand what districts are faring good on literacy, what districts are not, and also analyze when the districts are faring good, what are the reasons behind it, and if the district is lagging, what are the reasons behind it. Now imagine if somebody who's an economics student, or is somebody who's a computer science student, or is somebody who's a political science student, can they alone do it? Very unlikely. But when they come together, they would be able to solve not only this, but many, many such questions. In the liberal curriculum, what they did was, okay, I'm somebody who's from a psychology background. Let me work with the English literature major and design out a survey. I'm a political science student. Let me go back to my friends in history and also ask them, has there been a study in the past which talks about literacy rate in India district-wise? If yes, let us understand what happened then. How can our approach be different? A computer science professional says, okay, this is the data that we've got from the surveys. You need somebody to run the Excels. You need somebody to run the data for you and come up with trends. I'm the guy for you. And lastly, the English literature major says, okay, now is the time to prepare all of this together because our grades depend on how well you present a report. So not only are you learning skills in your area, economics, psychology, political science, history, computers, whatever it may be, you're also learning skills of people that you're working with, personal and academic. And that's a catch that probably no other education system in the world provides. The way that I see it, liberal arts is not a degree per se. It's a way of education. It's a way of ideology. It's a way of approach. It's a way of life when you're open to listening and collaborating with people and saying, you know what, I probably do not fare well on this particular domain. So let's do something. You are high on this particular domain. I'm high on this particular domain. Let's collaborate and show that we get better on both of these domains. So that level of collaboration, that level of interaction, that level of ingenuity, creativity, something that I think is the reason behind the success of liberal arts. And that's what enthralls me about this fantastic curriculum. Now, when you look at the liberal arts setting for the majority of universities, you will have 2 or 3 subjects pools to choose from, okay? You will have something called a major, there'll be something called a minor, and then you'll have a foundational and a vocational course, okay? A major means the degree that you're getting in. So for example, the subject in which you're focusing most of your time, your subject in which you're focusing most of your education, that is your major. So you could be somebody who's looking at a major in economics, a major in psychology, major in sociology, major in biology, major in chemistry, major in physics, major in math, major in computer sciences, major in economics. All of those kind of options are possible for you. Now, majors could be of 2 types. One is a pure major, pure chemistry, pure biology, pure political science, pure economics, or it could be interdisciplinary majors, which brings all of these things together. So, for example, you could be studying history and IR together. You could be somebody who's studying political science, philosophy, and economics together. You could be somebody who's studying biology with genetics. And in addition to this, you have to pick up a minor, which is a subject which works in tandem or in alliance with your major. So you could be somebody who says, okay, I am somebody who's working in economics with a major. What are the possible minors I can associate? Sociology, political science, philosophy, finance, journalism, psychology, all those kind of elements that I have on my radar as minors, I can take up all of those courses and build myself up. In addition, there are 2 kind of courses. One is called a foundation course, second is called a vocational course. Foundation course are those courses which are needed as a foundation. So for example, liberal curriculum is very, very, very big on reading. Now, you could be somebody who has not read previously in the past, and for you to be able to read the level that they're expecting you to be at, you may need to bridge that gap. There's a course that talks about great books to read, which will help you to read and bridge that gap. There would be a bridge course called Mind and Behavior, which would help you kind of bridge the gap between what you knew in psychology before and the psychology that's made available to you in college. All of those opportunities are available to you in foundation courses. But what I love the most about is the fact that while it's academic in nature, it does not lose sight of the vocational courses. To be able to write, to be able to make a film, to be able to make a presentation, to be able to pursue a hobby, to be able to get better at public speaking. All of these are both academic skill sets as well as life skill sets. The more you communicate in a public setting, the more your confidence grows. And you wouldn't believe, but liberal curriculum, they will have classes where you will have how to get better at public speaking, how to get better in confidence building, how to make better teams. All of these small, supposedly small trivial issues that we kind of see in our everyday lives, they are really big in colleges. And they're detrimental. They're kind of really, really extremely critical to your success as a professional. And that's why I think the well-roundedness of this curriculum, on the flexibility of choices that I can have economics with finance, I can have economics with the history, I can have economics with political science, I can have economics with philosophy, economics with psychology, economics with a horde of different curriculums. And that's what is the really, really the most interesting aspect of liberal curriculum in my mind. Abhishek, your thoughts on this?
Definitely, I completely reckon that, Dipankar. And because we've spoken about the curriculum and we're talking about that we have great colleges in the country, so let's just have a look at the kind of colleges that offer liberal arts education in India. So they are not arranged in any specific order. They are literally the best ones in the country, starting from Flame, Ashoka, Kriya, Azim Premji University. Can you hear me, Dipankar?
Absolutely, I can.
Yeah, okay. Azim Premji, OP Jindal, Shiv Madhar, Symbiosis, NMIMS, Christ, Pune University, and the number of them which are not mentioned here, but all of them are doing amazing when it comes to liberal arts curriculum. They all have particular edge. They specialize in all different courses. Number of them offer you so many specializations. Today, you're lucky enough that we'll get to know more about the courses at OP Jindal and Shiv Madhar University. So this was just a list of universities that you may consider because these are the pioneers when it comes to liberal arts education in India. Now talking about one of the most important aspects. We've spoken about the importance of liberal arts, the advantages, how is it different, how is it relevant, what is the curriculum, what are the colleges. But now this is the fun part, believe you me. Please stay with me for the next couple of minutes because application of liberal arts is literally one of the most interesting and most important aspects as well. Because even if you think that you can go to a liberal arts college, the application process is not that simple. So for instance, in a traditional college, how do we get in? Either we go through a board merit. Dipankar, I think somebody's mic is on. There is a disturbance there. Or should I continue? Is it okay? My voice is audible, right?
Yes, you're audible.
Oh, perfect. I'll continue. So talking about the admissions to a liberal arts college, not only they just look at your merit, they take entrances, and there's more than that. So they're not just satisfied with the board merit you get because it's a very simple reason. You might not take your study seriously all through class 9, 10, and 11. In class 12, one day you might wake up, okay, I need to do well to get a good college. You get a 99%. But the university will be like, okay, what were you doing the last 3 years? You were scoring 60 and 55%. What happened? It doesn't happen in a day, which basically indicates that you were not serious enough. You were not taking your education seriously until you realize, okay, I won't get a college. So a liberal arts curriculum makes sure that they see a consistent pattern. So firstly, I'll start with how the process is structured. Usually, the universities will have a couple of rounds. The first one is the application round, having a few steps. The first thing they require from you on the application is your academic record. So that can be your academic scores from classes 9 to 12. Some might ask for classes 10 to 12 10 onwards. A couple of universities might just ask for your board marks, like classes 10 and 12 board marks. But what all of them want to see is a consistent pattern. Now, this can work in different ways. For instance, in class 9, 10, you were an average student, scoring 60-65%. Class 11, 12, you worked hard, managed to secure higher 80s or early 90s. That shows progress. That's an upward sloping curve. Now, a different case can be where in class 9, you had a 90%. For some reason, you might have fallen sick in class 10 or might have had an issue. You might end up scoring 70%. You had a dip. But you persevered, you worked hard in class 11, 12, you came back and again got 85-90%. Now that's a progress. They don't want a student who gets a 95%. They want a student who's hardworking and can reflect that in his academic record. Other than that, some of the universities require an assessment test. But when we speak of standardized tests, what they mean is if you have given SATs or ACTs, which are required for admissions in the US and other countries, if you have those scores, they might substitute that for the assessment. If you don't have it, it's completely fine. Every university has their own entrance. So there's no problem if you haven't given the SATs. Extracurricular activities, one of the most important aspects of a liberal arts application. Now, a small difference between extracurricular and curricular is that co-curricular activities are the ones which are related to your schoolwork, debates, dramatics, MU events. Those are important as well. What do they mean by extracurricular is what do you do above and beyond your schoolwork and outside it? How do you keep yourself involved? How do you spend your time? Do you use it productively? Now, how can I use my time? Maybe I'm playing sports. Maybe I'm participating in some voluntary work, social service, or I'm participating in some other activities outside school. But how are they relevant to you? So they want to see what else have you done. Now, this can be you might have participated in a summer school or an exchange program, done online courses. There's so much and more that you can do, and they want to know all about it. You might be a dancer. How many years have you danced? What form of dance have you done? You might be a singer. What level have you cleared? You might play an instrument. Okay, what instrument do you play? What level of certification do you have? How long have you been practicing that? They basically want to see that you are someone who who is a hardworking kid who likes to study, but also manages time to devote time to other activities that help in overall development. So all of these elements are very important. Now, universities will have either essays or SOPs. Very only a couple of them might have both. But what an essay means is university wants to see that how do you write and think about a particular subject. So some of the universities can ask you about how do you deal with cultural diversity, because you would be moving to a college where you'll be staying with different people. How do you deal with that? The term is called cultural shock. How do you adapt to that? They can give you question or essay about religious beliefs. What are your beliefs? What are your superstitions? And how do you question those? How do you question the norms established in society? What is your opinion? So such intriguing questions come up to see that the way you think. How are you different? What is the mindset you follow? A statement of purpose, as the name suggests, basically would want you to explain that why are you applying to this university? What is the agenda behind it? Why do you want to study a particular subject? What is your career goal after this? Where do you see yourself in the next few years? Where do you want to go from this degree? What are your career aspirations? That is what it entails. Now, after you compile everything, another important aspect is letter of recommendation. Now, in life, whenever we get a reference for someone, we definitely try to think about it. For instance, if I want to go to the best Italian restaurant and I open Zomato, I see, okay, these are the best restaurants in the city. I get a recommendation there. So, of course, I'm inclined towards those, right? Similarly, the university want a recommendation for you as well. So what do? They want you to go to the teachers, your principal, your counselor, the right person who would give them a true account about you. Your years in school, if you want to study economics, go to an economics teacher. If you want to study computers, go to computer teacher. Similarly, whatever you want to express about yourself, that should be highlighted. After your application is submitted and you qualify for the next round, your application is shortlisted, then you move on to stage 2. Stage 2 is called the interview round. In the interview round, you have 3 stages for most of the universities. What happens is on the day of the interview or even a day before or after, you have to give an aptitude test. Now the tests are being happened online. The liberal arts colleges have done an amazing job at taking the system online and doing very well at that. So depending on what the situation is, you might have to give a test online or offline. These tests will be test you on your mathematical, logical, and English abilities. Next thing will be on the spot essay. They want to see that how you can think on the spot. Topics can be really spontaneous. Something can be very abstract, like how do you compare apples and oranges, or do you? A topic can be zero. What do you mean about zero? What does it mean for you? It can be a political topic and they can ask for your opinion. So topics can be very different and diverse, but they want to see how you can think literally on the spot, spontaneous. Lastly, the interview. That is the major show. Now, interview, if it's happening virtually or in person, there can be a couple of panelists or maybe more. What they want to know is, who are you as a person? What you have written in the application, are you that person at all? And how do you express yourself? How confident are you? They can ask you questions about your family, about the university you're applying to. They want to see how well have you researched and how sure are you about your goals. They want to know about your ambition, how you communicate with them, how do you explain to them that why do you belong here? Why are you better than the others sitting outside? If there are 10 people waiting for the interview, why are you the perfect fit for the university? So that compiles the interview, and when you make it through, you make it to a university. Lastly, I want to talk about something which is very important, is opportunities. Now, there was a question which was I just saw while we were presenting that somebody has mentioned about that liberal arts courses do not have opportunities like the traditional courses do. I'm so sorry, that is not a case anymore. If you observe a scenario right now as well, people coming from a liberal arts curriculum can literally apply to best of the firms. You can see on your screens, right from the big 4, Deloitte, KPMG, PwC, Ernst & Young, to the best consulting firms, BCG, Bain, McKinsey, to the government officials. If you're aware about Invest India, one of the biggest cells of the government of India who's operating to get investments in the country, half of the students come from a liberal arts college. Believe you me, you can go and have a look for yourself. Why do they choose such people? Because they know they come from a mindset who want to do better, who want to improvise. So a liberal arts curriculum just makes you flexible to get into any kind of work and role. That's it for us from now, Dipankar.
Thank you, Abhishek. I think that in a very capsulated manner was what we're looking at in terms of the admission processes involved in the liberal arts curriculum. I do want to be able to just reinforce one point, which is while the universities look at SATs or ACTs, it's not mandatory for you to be able to give those tests. If at all you give those tests and you have relevant scores to present to them, you will not need to give the aptitude test as a part of the round 2. All right. With that, I think it's time for us to invite Dr. Sen and Dr. Krishnaswamy onto the panel. We do have lots and lots of interesting questions about the liberal curriculum that we want to be able to pick your brains on and get responses from you. Dr. Swamy and Dr. Sen, can we please request you to turn on your videos? Thank you, Dr. Krishnaswamy. Thank you, Dr. Sen. So, Dr. Sen and Dr. Krishnaswamy, my first question, and something that's already been passed as a part of the questions as well, is two-parted. One is, why is it called liberal arts? Why not liberal sciences? Why not liberal commerce? Why is it called liberal arts? One. And second thing is, what are some of the common myths that you've encountered about the liberal curriculum? What are some of the prevalent myths that are out there that students need to be wary of? Dr. Sen.
Okay, so see, the first part of your question is a very good one, because I think, some of the best universities now are actually challenging that nomenclature. And, one of the alternatives is liberal studies, enable a student to actually study science courses. So, for example, do a computer science, a couple of courses in computer science. So that's the thing. That category is actually beginning to get challenged now. Liberal arts. So you might want to describe it as liberal studies. So that you bring together courses across the arts and science divide. And you create a combination, or enable the student to get a combination, a combination of subjects that interrelate to each other. So, this example that I just gave of computer science and design is, of course, behind the great success of the Apple computer, right. And then the phone. They did one of the great ideas that Steve Jobs had, was to introduce options of fonts. So, so calligraphy, design, these things become very important, as you're working with this. But I'd like to say, okay, so how much time do I have? Shall I stop there and let...
you could take a minute or so to complete your response, and then I'll take the question forward to Dr. Krishnaswamy.
Yeah, but maybe in the second round, I'd like to say that the humanities, social sciences, considered in themselves, have a huge amount of value. I'll talk about that a little later, but a combination of history and English literature can produce an extremely good education, and not only education in relation to the person you become. That's very important, because there is a job and there is a life, and the life behind the job is just as important as the job, but as both of you have said, if you think it through carefully, then studying literature or sociology or art history and history together can give you a set of analytical abilities that have a general significance. So that you are able to deal with complex life situations, which include situations in your office, for example, in ways that are analytically much more precise than a form of learning that has been boxed in, that it is moving through formulae and memorization and things like that. So that improvisational quality in real life situations, you sort of work with that all the time in liberal arts courses.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Krishnaswamy, your take on this. Why liberal arts? Why not liberal sciences or commerce? And what are some of the prevalent myths you've encountered about liberal studies? We're not able to hear you, Dr. Krishnaswamy.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it's a very interesting question, and I think one of the reasons that this term of
Dr. Krishnaswamy, I think there's a network issue at your end.
is
Can I please request you to
switch off my video? Should I switch off?
Sure,
Sure,
that's okay.
That's okay for us. Yeah.
Is that better, or should I? Now is it clearer, or?
Yes, we can hear you now.
So I'm not going to switch off my camera then.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. So I know what I was trying to say was the historical reasons why arts or liberal arts as a term is something that we still use. One of the reasons is because 700 years ago, when universities started in the West, especially in European countries like France and Italy, arts in Latin used to mean craft or skill and so on. So they had the division between so to speak, crudely skill-based learning as well as theological learning, which was not necessarily skill-based. But within the skill-based learning, they had medicine. That's what they had in mind. So, but then when they wanted to look at other kinds of learning, which was not necessarily medicine, which was really skill-based subject, they wanted a term, a kind of an umbrella term to put all the other things like literature, history into something else. And they said, okay, if skill is something that we don't want to talk about necessarily in terms of either architecture or medicine, let me put it as a liberal art. Let me put liberal arts as a term for all the other things that I can study, which doesn't come under really practical things, and also doesn't come under something like theology and so on. So that's how I think the evolution of the word came about, and we still use it. So now that's why we don't say computer art or things like that, because anyway, within computer there is a lot of skill that is already implied. Anyway, that's the answer for the first.
Thank you so much for that answer, sir. Now, I have a question for both of you, that how do you feel the universities, your respective universities, will continue the admission process in 2021? Like this year as well and the coming year, how is the university planning to change the admission process, if at all?
Do you want me to speak first?
So either of you can go first.
Okay.
You can go first, sir, no problem.
Okay. All right. Very quickly, I mean, you came very close to actually describing the admission process. So, if you have a SAT score, we will consider that as a, as a basic, and you have to, of course, have a small threshold. In English, the SAT score is about 1300. We will call you for an interview. And then on the basis of your SAT performance and the interview, we will or will not offer you admission. The second way of getting admission in SNU is to now apply for, we are developing this, and it's going to be rolled out on the 10th of May, what is called a proctored SNUAT. So it's an exam that you can give online, but you'll be monitored. So that you don't cheat. I'm sure you don't want to cheat anyway, but exams are exams.
Yeah.
You'll be monitored. You'll be monitored, and then you'll have to give that exam, and depending on your score, you'll be invited for an interview. There's going to be a half-an-hour interview, and then a combination of your SNUAT stroke SAT score plus your interview is what's going to determine your admission. Now, I think, very quickly, one of you actually spelled it out beautifully, I think. What is the SNUAT? What is the exam like? So it will test your basic mathematical skills it'll test, some sense of your knowledge of the world, but it will also, ask you to write 2 essays. And both these essays are exactly as was suggested, unusual topics. It could be anything. I mean, it could be anything. And you have to think right there. We are not looking for what kind of knowledge you have. Because it's not likely that that you'll have come prepared with full knowledge about a topic. But we are looking at 2 things: the quality of your mind and the way you are able to marshal your thoughts, if you're able to put it in a clear and coherent manner. So that is the test. The interview, which is I should clarify here that although we have a curriculum that is very like the liberal arts, SNU is also a solidly departmental based humanities school. We have big departments of English and sociology, and so you enter as a major in one of these departments, along the lines that have been suggested. Then the department is going, in the interview in the department is going to try to figure out basically 2 things. Why is it that you want to do English or sociology? If you have a good answer to that, you're in. Actually, as far as I'm concerned, you're in. If you can give me a convincing answer about why you want to do English literature, that's half the thing done. And then we are going to try and, we are all experienced teachers. We'll try and test what is called what kind of aptitude you have. So we may ask you to speak about a book and ask you questions about the book. Similarly, a sociologist may ask you, something about, what is broadly called field work. I mean, if you have to get some information, how are you get it? Stuff like that. So that is the combination of tests that we have. Yeah, the written exam, either the SAT, followed by an interview, and the interview, remember, is department specific. If you apply, in SNU you apply for a subject. Yeah, even though you can do a minor or you can. Yeah, but if you're applying if you're applying to a department, certainly be prepared to answer why it is you're applying to that department. That's the basic. You have to convince me that you want to come in.
Thank you for that answer, sir. Dr. Swami, I have the same question for you. That what changes is Open making in the admission process? Are there any updates considering COVID in mind? Have they updated the admission policies or something of that nature, or are you considering something like that?
Sorry, I blacked out for a minute.
No problem, sir. No problem.
We are, in terms of admission, we are moving, as far as I know, every process that comes within, within the whole admission setup online. So whether it is writing entrance exams, whether it is writing essays, whether it is holding interviews, now we hold everything online. And so earlier there was, at least if not for liberal arts, but for other departments or other schools within our university, there were some aptitude tests that the student had to take, and those aptitude tests were physically conducted exams. That was earlier, but now I just got to know about 3-4 days ago from our vice chancellor that we are moving everything to an online mode. Not only is admission going to be online, but all kinds of answering of questions, if the students have questions, all those things are going to be made.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I do have a question.
I just wanted to add,
yes, please.
I just want one very small thing. I don't want to mislead. See, all the interviews too are going to be online. They'll be set up. SNU's got very good IT infrastructure. So there's no physical sort of element in any of the processes that I just described. Neither the test nor the interview, or all of it is online.
Absolutely. I think online is the new normal for everyone. And whether it's online classes or the admission processes or other activities that we otherwise used to do offline, I think all of them are going online by the day. So it would not be untrue for us to say that online is a new normal. And that brings me to my next question, and a question that has been asked a lot of times by the students attending this webinar, which is, when you, let's say, take a traditional course like the ones from Delhi University or Mumbai University or the likes, or in engineering or in architecture, uh, how is the liberal arts graduate in terms of employability, in terms of other factors as well? How do they compare with a traditional graduate from other universities? How does a liberal arts graduate compare to a student who has, for example, gone to college at Delhi University or Mumbai University? That's a fundamental question that has been asked a lot of times, and I would like to redirect the question to you, Dr. Krishnaswamy, for your opinion, and then I'll take the question to Dr. Sen.
It's a good question. Now, there are two things I would like to say in reply to that. One of the differences that a student from a liberal arts background would get, which is to that student's advantage, would be the fact that the student, by the end of the course, will have gotten global skills. And what that means is that because the student is able to get those global skills because he or she is exposed to faculty who have had global exposure. Now, because of that, the skills that they get are, so to speak, marketable or presentable anywhere in the world. And so that is one thing. And the other thing, which is not to be slighted, is the fact that within the university that we have a lot of infrastructure. Now, the infrastructure can be not only physical, but also infrastructure in terms of human resources. When you have faculty who have had a lot of experience around the world, what they bring into not only the classroom but into their own work is the ability or the willingness to connect the students to different contacts that they might have. So in that way, a student is better able to expose their talents on the global stage rather than a traditional degree or from a traditional university.
Okay, that's excellently put. Dr. Sen, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's something that actually surprises me a great deal. The continuing, preference that many students have for colleges in Delhi University over, some of these new universities. The reason I'm saying this is that it just takes a very, very simple thing, and I would very strongly recommend to every one of you who's listening, that when you make a choice for a subject or a university, just have a look at their website. So if you have an English department, for example, compare the English department in SNU, with, let's say, the best English department in Delhi University. Let's say the English department of LSR or St. Stephen's, or if you want, since we go up right through the MA and the PhD too, compare it with the Department of English, Delhi University, So I know this because I was the head of the Department of English in Delhi University. And it's very, very easy to make a comparison. You look at the degrees, you look at the publications, do a little bit of research and find out what publications mean. If you have a publication in Critical Quarterly, just innovate a little bit, hit the internet, look up what Critical Quarterly means, and, it will become very apparent to you that the faculty I'm just speaking for Shiv Nadar at the moment, is way superior, absolutely way superior to any English faculty in Delhi University. Way superior, there's no comparison. So to give you just one example, there isn't anyone in Shiv Nadar, the English department in Shiv Nadar, who doesn't have a PhD. That's a very basic thing. But there are people in Shiv Nadar who, won major literary prizes. They've been presidents of the MLA. They are on the, they will evaluate for promotion in New York University. These are, just as was said, I mean, you're competing on a global stage, and so the research is global. Your work is cited globally. You are well known globally. So that's there's no comparison actually. And it's a very simple thing to do, because just as you said, if you are going to do critical thinking, one of the ways of doing critical thinking is to do some research and find out. Just have a look at the websites and the CVs, of the faculty, and make a comparison before you make a decision. So that's one thing. The other thing, very quickly, I'd like to add is, see, SNU, and I'm sure the other liberal arts will also, do see there are basically two kinds of pedagogy. One is what is called a lecture-driven pedagogy. I mean, that is what happens is the teacher gives a lecture, and the student listens very carefully, and if she is good, she assimilates, and then what she does is to put it together and write out an exam, without seeing anything else. I mean, so it's a test of assimilation and memorizing. That's the standard evaluation format in Delhi University. It all is predicated on one examination at the end of the year, and a little bit of internal assessment. But there is a second kind of pedagogy, which you might call research driven. So you ask to read, put things together, write an essay, work on your own, try to figure out what is important, not important. So that kind of pedagogy starts very early in SNU. So by the third year, fourth year, a student in SNU is actually prepared for a PhD. I mean, she can actually, conceivably speaking, the best students can start a PhD. Way ahead. There is no comparison. I mean, the good students in SNU with the SNU student with the SNU training versus a good student with a 3-year Delhi University degree. There's no comparison.
That's great. That's great. I think both of you put it very beautifully that I think the most prized asset for a liberal arts curriculum is its faculty members. And once you make the distinction with other paradigms, I think they pretty much answer to every question. At this moment of time, I might request Abhishek and Dr. Sen to please turn off your videos. I do have some questions for Dr. Krishnaswamy. And once I'm done with them, then Abhishek will come back with Dr. Sen and ask questions to him. So, Dr. Krishnaswamy, I've been researching a little bit about the Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities, and this is where I had been able to point out a couple of questions for you, and I hope you'll be able to give me answers for those. You'll help me with those queries. So my first very, very basic question is that, like every university has its own niche, every university has its own identification criteria, something that it is known for. So what is OP Jindal's advantage? What is the advantage of Jindal School of Liberal Arts and Humanities?
I mean, I think there are at least 3 advantages that I can think of off the top of my head. One is, I think, an education from liberal arts gives the student problem-solving skills, and I think that is very important in today's world when the environment that people live in, politically, socially, and psychologically, is a very dynamic one. Given the dynamic circumstances that we live in, where things are at multiple levels keep changing, we need youngsters and the future, CEOs, future academics, future leaders of the world to have those problem-solving skills, which will draw upon their many cognitive resources. And I think it's the future, as I see it, and it has been agreed upon. It will need people who can have multiple ways of looking at a particular problem, and I think that is something that we inculcate in our university, where our curriculum is designed in such a way that people, the students who come to us, are able to look at a particular problem from multiple perspectives. We have a series of foundation courses where we consciously and purposely draw upon different disciplines, a bit of philosophy, a bit of economics, a bit of political science in those foundation courses so that these skills are integrated well. The second advantage that we as a school or liberal arts school can provide is the flexibility that I think many of the traditional universities might lack. And what I mean by flexibility is that the student who starts their educational career at the age of 18, I suppose 18 or 19, in a traditional setup will have to choose a particular discipline and he or she is stuck with it whether she likes it or not later. So, and I think, given our own psychological developmental graph, we know for a fact that people keep changing, and then our interests also keep changing. And I think any curriculum which does not give space for some kind of flexibility will, I think, will be a disservice to the student. And I think a student should have the ability to shift from one interest to the other, or keep 3 or 4 interests at the same time. And so we do that in our curriculum, where we give the option for students to do multiple interdisciplinary majors. But not only that, our different courses are designed in such a way that we always draw upon different ideas from different disciplines. And briefly, I'll finish with the third point, which is it gives a kind of holistic education in the sense that at the end of the curriculum, the student should be able to go into the world with a heightened sense of, with a heightened cognitive sense, and which means that he's able to see the complexity that is in the outside world for what it is, and not to see it in black and white, not to see it in unit terms. And so this holistic approach that we give makes the student, when they get into the outside world, so to speak, the real world, they have a heightened sense of perception. I mean, that could be cognitive or social or political, but at the same time, given the problem solving skills that we've already given, give them the tools to approach it and solve it.
That's great. And I'm glad that you mentioned that advantage of being analytical and those problem solving skills, which brings me to my next question on how do we actually imbibe those things? I'm sure that, puzzles and all of those ways are great for logical reasoning, for problem solving skills. But in a professional setup like the one at your school, what's the pedagogy that's different from other schools that gives you the added edge of inculcating your students with the great problem skills that they have?
Right. So, a good question. So, I mean, so one of the things that we pride ourselves in, pedagogically, is the irreverence that we have for boundaries between, say, theory and practice, classroom and outside the classroom. So, what that means is that whatever we learn in the classroom, we make sure that the students are taken outside into the world and given real problems where they can apply and think about all the things that they have learned in the classroom. So this experiential approach is something that is at the core of all the courses that we teach. And from the foundation to major electives and core courses as well. So in that way, we don't divide classroom as being only a space where we discuss high theory and outside the world is something that we try and avoid. Even at a very early stage, we always say that the point is to build bridges between theories and practice, classroom and the outside world. So this is the approach that we give, which actually gives them all the tools when they go out into the external world to already look at the external world as avenues for their creative problem solving abilities.
Wow, that's an exciting proposition. I wish I was able to enroll, but no worries. So I know that research is one of the core elements, again, at the heart of your school. So I'm going to ask my last question to you in terms of the program per se, which is what are the research opportunities available to students at the General School of Liberal Arts and Humanities?
Okay. So, I mean, research generally is considered to be something that we are supposed to get to at the end of our education through a PhD, and that's when we do a research, or when you're much older and you have a lot of experience in a particular field, and then you do research. And I think that is an idea that we want to kind of undermine, and we strongly believe that research is something that you need to start very early. And so what we do is we give students research skills very early on from the first year onwards. So we also give them opportunities to display their research skills. So to give you an example, we have, I think, the only of its kind, a research undergrad conference every year that we organize on our campus, where we invite different undergrad students from across India, as well as our own students, to exchange ideas or research ideas among themselves. So that gives them a platform to to talk about what they're researching in, and also as an added incentive to engage in this kind of research. So we give them research skills in the classroom, but apart from that, we also have a lot of research centers within the university. For example, I am the director of a Center for Social and Political Research, where I conduct conferences, I conduct seminars, and I invite speakers from all over the world. So I use a lot of my students to help with these different seminars. That's one thing I do. I give them a lot of research opportunities. If I'm working on a book or an article, if I want to do a survey or something of that kind, I help. I take on a bunch of students and I tell them this is what you have to do, and I teach them those research skills, and they use this as a kind of a dry run opportunity, so that when they get out of the university, they can do research for other organizations. And thirdly, we also have a lot of we also have facilitating nodes or units within the university, which gives them internship opportunities. So the students are mandated to do at least 4 internships in the course of the 3 years that they are there. So we give them a lot of links and contacts with think tanks around Delhi or around India, anywhere. Think tanks, journalistic institutes, and so on, where we put them in touch with those people. And with these research skills, they also have an internship opportunity to try it again outside and get some feedback from the real world and from practitioners, from the people who make a living out of it, and come back, and that informs their research again when they come back after the internship into the university. So it's a kind of a conversation that keeps happening, and we facilitate that conversation between the outside industry, as they call it, and the classroom.
Brilliant. I think that's a fantastic way to be able to inculcate research abilities. I'm very curious to know what questions has Abhishek prepared for Dr. Sen. So may I request both of you to please turn on your videos, and parallelly I and Dr. Krishnaswamy will turn off our videos, and we'll be back for some more Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dipankar. Dr. Sen, something I saw personally when I was going through the Shiv Nadar website for liberal arts was an amazing curriculum. I was really fascinated with the kind of options and opportunities students have. So can you please help me understand that how Shiv Nadar is trying to revolutionize the wave of change towards liberal arts education? Sir, you're not audible. So you're not audible.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, I can. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, see, you have to understand 2 or 3 things about Shiv Nadar in order for me to be able to answer your question in some detail. See, Shiv Nadar is a very big university. So it has an engineering school, it has a management school. It has something that very few universities have. It has a school of fine arts, So you can actually study painting and sculpting in Shiv Nadar University. and it has a School of Humanities and Social Sciences. Okay, now the way the courses are structured is the following. You enter, with the intention of majoring in one subject. Yeah, you could make an application and you want to say that you are getting in here to major in, say, physics. Yeah, so in order to major in physics, you will have to do a certain number of credits, and once you complete those credits, you get a major. But simultaneously, you have to do two other kinds of courses. One is called the CCC courses. These are roughly, these roughly correspond to the foundation courses. And let me say, some of the CCC courses can be very, very nice. One of them, which I taught, is called Understanding Jazz. So you have CCC courses of that kind, and then you have something called university-wide electives. That is, every student, irrespective of what he is doing or what she is doing, has to get or has to do at least 8 university-wide electives. That means a person doing mechanical engineering will have to do a combination of, say, 2 courses in anything. I mean, it could be 2 courses in English, 2 courses in physics, and so on. And if you opt to sort of out of those 8 courses, do 6 in a single subject, then you get a minor in that subject. So you could do mechanical engineering with a minor in English. Not only that, the thing is that since this is a credit-based system, several students will begin as students of physics, do a few UWEs in English for which they get credit, and then in second year they might decide that look, I mean, really the thing I wanted to do is English. And so all he has to do is make an application in the second year to the English department. And, if he's got a sufficient number of credits already in English, he can easily move towards a major in English. So that's the system. It's not exactly a liberal arts, but it has a very wide basket of university-wide electives and CCCs, which you do very early in your time in the university. And if any of those really interest you very much, if you feel that this is worth a branch change, that branch change happens, and it happens very often. So for us in the 4th year, in my opinion, the best student we have, absolutely best student, 4th year English student we have, is a person who came from physics in his second year. And it's interesting because when he came in, he struggled a bit. English is different from physics. It's not like a cakewalk. It has its own very difficult protocols, and that you have to master it. But after a semester, he became better and better at it, and then it's clear now he was born to do, something that's, his mind was oriented towards, the kind of skills, the kind of mental abilities you need to have to do things like philosophy. And
True.
So that's the way it works.
Certainly, sir. I think it's safe to say so. What you are explaining about Shiv Nadar, they are actually taking liberal arts also to the next level by giving so much flexibility. That's great. So speaking of flexibility,
just one small thing.
Please, of course, sir.
It's something I'm really proud of. There is this student of engineering who did a minor in English.
Okay.
So he got from Shiv Nadar, he got a degree in engineering. He's going to get his degree this year, but he did a minor in English, and now he's applied for a postgraduate degree in English. He's applied to various places, including Ashoka, many other places. So he's going to move after an engineering degree from after a BE in mechanical engineering. He's going to postgraduate in English. He's a very good student, so he will probably get into any university he applies for, and then he will decide. Yeah, so that's what it is. Sorry.
That's great, sir. So no, please. In fact, taking on further from that, what is your takeaway if you were to tell the students who are attending the event today that what is the kind of exposure that Shiv Nadar provides to the liberal arts students? For instance, in terms of exchange programs, work opportunities, career placements, internships? What is the exposure that they provide?
It's a very good question. See, there are so because it's part of a very big company, HCL, they have something called a CDS. That's the Career Development Cell. CDC, it's called Career Development Cell, and so a whole very professionalized placements. It's a placement cell. So companies come into the university and they will make selections, and so they will do that. About the liberal arts, I want to say two things. First, a lot of internships, especially, which then sometimes lead to real jobs, happen on the basis of contacts. So a lot of people in the media or in publishing, have been, for older teachers, have been students of theirs. We have a lot of contacts in these places, and therefore, lots of our students intern in Pearson, or they will do a year of teaching assistantships in Ashoka, while they're preparing, for several things. It could be a competitive exam, or it could be a PhD abroad, whatever. I mean, so that part of it is very professionalized, because we have this thing called the CDC. But a more interesting thing is, I did want to say that one of the, especially in the post-COVID world, it's very clear. One of the I hate to use the word skills, but let's say abilities. That's going to be of great value. It's going to be in great demand. Is generating content on the web. And this has necessarily to be a multimedia thing. How to put together a picture and a text and and sound. Into a presentation that instantly catches the attention of the viewer. That kind of work, there's something very good happening. We have something called digital humanities in our department.
Right.
PhDs in digital humanities, which in an earlier moment of the evolution of the subject meant it meant archiving material or using the kind of computer skills that people like Franco Moretti do to analyze words and things like that. But increasingly now, these are also becoming ways of teaching skills that become very important, teaching abilities that become very important in content production.
In fact, sir, I think you anticipated what I was thinking. My next question was just about that. How is Shiv Nadu preparing students to adapt to changes and uncertainties, like something which is happening now during COVID-19? Students have to prepare for such uncertainties. There has to be a wave of change. You pretty much answered a part of it. Do you have something more to add to that element?
Yes, please believe this when I say it, because the only reason I'm asking you to believe me is because I'm 63 years old. One of the most, tell me, where does uncertainty hit you most? Where is it that, see, there is an environment of uncertainty because of COVID, but the experience of uncertainty, is unfolding in yourself.
Right.
Uncertainty is a subjective experience. Uncertainty is something individuals experience. Even though there is an environment of uncertainty.
Right.
But the actual coping with it is the thing that mediates that environment, and you is you. So at the heart of it is, you have to ask yourself the question, what resources as a human being You know, do you have to cope with uncertainty? You know, I think mechanical engineering doesn't even ask that question. You know,
no, I agree with that, sir.
you don't ask that question. I mean, you know, because mechanical engineering is based on certainty. You know, I mean, it's based, if you do this, if you do this will follow. Yeah. So the experience of uncertainty is at the absolute heart of, you know, either the pure sciences or you know, the humanities and social sciences. You know, so you know, that's at the heart of it. I mean, you know, if you're asking me to predict, you know, what in this uncertain context will emerge as the new professions, that's difficult to predict, but it'll have to be something that has to do with, you know, so it has to do, so some of it will come from online services, you know. A lot of counseling, I think, is going to become more and more important. Psychology is going to become very important. You know, design is going to become very important. But ultimately, you know, that's why it's so important to listen to music and read books. You know, ultimately, you know, the experience of uncertainty is an experience that you and only you can cope with. You know, and you have to build resources in order to cope with uncertainty, and the humanities provide those resources. You know, I mean, English literature is all about you know, uncertain situations. You know, you wouldn't have a novel unless there was an uncertain situation. You wouldn't read the next page unless there was an uncertain situation. So the experience, so for us, uncertainty is an everyday thing. Actually. We deal with uncertainty, with ambiguities.
True.
No? So
I think that's a very good way of looking at it, sir. And I think that's a very good rhetorical question to leave the audience with and think about it from their perspective. Thank you so much for that, sir. I would like, Dipankar is here, and I would like to invite Dr. Krishna Swami as well, so we can thank him once.
So, gentlemen, thank you so much. This has been
Dipankar,
an excellent. Am I audible now? Thank you so much. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on board with us. And this has been an excellent discussion on liberal arts. I thank everyone for being online on or before time. I thank you for continuing to stay with us until the end of this very session. Mindler team, thank you for addressing all the questions in the chat box that have been pouring in. And I'm sure you guys would have been bombarded with questions, given how provocative this discussion has been. So thank you, Dr. Sen. Thank you, Dr. Krishna Swami. I appreciate the time and effort and the valuable contribution that you've been able to add to this discussion. Thank you, Abhishek, and everyone. Please have a very great evening. Please stay safe. Please stay healthy. Don't step out of the house. These are perilous times, and I'm sure things will be better pretty soon. Take care, everyone. All the very best.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.